Do something.
I know.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, Two Tickets from Hell. I'm Yvonne here with my co host.
Christian.
In today's podcast, we'll be talking about tomorrow's war. Sorry, no, the Tomorrow War.
Tomorrow's War is a good one, though.
It's a good one. The good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
Before we begin, though, make sure to subscribe and if you enjoy reviews and discussions on everything and anything entertainment, gaming, tech, and what else we want to talk about. Feel free to check us out. Also, make sure to leave a thumbs up if you do like it. It's always appreciated. Thank you very much. If you have any thoughts or anything else you want us to discuss in the podcast, please leave a comment. Anyway, let's get into it. Tomorrow's War. The
Okay, I want to
Tomorrow War.
start this real quick by saying that Tomorrow's War's IMDb trivia is like some of the worst I've ever seen. All right, I'll explain why. I'll explain
Hold
why.
on.
Can you break this movie down for me? Like, I haven't watched it, and I'm trying to decide if I want to watch it, but I want
All
you to
right.
just tell me the whole movie.
Let me just get into it.
All right.
So this movie, 2021 movie on Amazon Prime, it's
Mm.
directed by Chris McKay, which if you don't know, he's from actually Lego Movie.
When
No,
I saw that, I
I didn't
busted.
know that. No, it's a great movie.
And the Batman movie.
And the Batman movie, and they're great movies. And I don't
You know,
stop.
when somebody
Don't
was,
disrespect my
reading
boy
the
Chris
script, they're
McKay.
reading the script and they're like, "We need the Lego guy." Go ahead.
No, no, sorry. No disrespect to my boy Chris McKay. Lego movie and Lego Batman classic.
Classic.
But this movie needed a little polishing. That's all I'm going to say before we get into spoilers. But anyway, so there's a lot to unpack for this movie. I'm not going to read a synopsis. I'm going to give you my personal synopsis.
All right.
So it's an action sci-fi time travel
RPG.
starring Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons, and Yvonne. I'm gonna mess this up. Apologies, Yvonne Stravosky. Um, and they star in this movie, essentially following
Dan the Man.
Dan the Man, Chris Pratt, as he is a soldier that travels to the future to fight tomorrow's war.
Yeah, 30 years into the future, right?
30 years into the future, actually,
Mm.
fight the Tomorrow War.
The War of Tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but 30 years tomorrow. I don't know how
Yes,
that math works out.
I don't know. They could have anyway. Before we get into spoilers, because there's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to pack.
So he's a soldier from the past that goes to the future, kind of like a reverse Terminator,
Mm-hmm.
and exactly like a reverse
Oh,
Terminator.
wait. Let me stop you right there. There's one really funny IMDb. Well, funny just because it's terrible. IMDb trivia, where fun like fact is the fact that Chris Pratt, who is dating Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter, says in the movie, "I will be back," just like his father-in-law says, "I'll be back" in the Terminator.
Did he put potential father-in-law?
Did he say potential, or are they married yet? All right, now
I
we
think
gotta look
that
that up.
makes it creepier.
Yeah, potential. He's like, "I will
Hey,
marry you." Please continue. Sorry.
anyway, long story short, if we're gonna get right into the spoilers because there's a lot. I'm biting at the hip to talk about this, but yeah. So stop watching now. Should you watch it? Probably not. That's
No.
all I'm gonna say. All right, not spoilers. So, oh man, let me just tell you a quick. Let me just give you a little bit of this movie. So the movie starts at the very end of the movie, right? Which is always a very quick way to tell the
Not
audience.
at the end. It starts halfway into the movie.
Well,
Actually,
technically, it's at the end if you think about it from a
no, because it was
timeline.
the first jump whenever they were falling down into Miami.
Yeah, but okay. Let me just say, if a movie starts at the end, that's just the way to tell the audience to watch a different movie because it's gonna take forever to get going since they're gonna need to throw a ton of exposition. And starting off at the beginning would make people fall asleep too quickly, so that's why they did that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened because we immediately jump into a Christmas party at this guy's house.
Yeah.
So, like, I just need to talk about this Christmas party because it looked like no one there knew each other or was planning to go to the same spot because, like, he's carrying a bunch of like stuff and like nobody says hi to him.
Yeah.
Like,
It
only
almost
someone
felt like they were background casts hired during the
members.
2020 pandemic to film, so they weren't allowed to get too close, but they also had to stay a good odd distance away. Yeah, I
It
don't.
was
Who
almost
knows?
like that.
But they don't explain who these people are, whether they're neighbors or co-workers or family
I,
friends. They're just a
all we know is that it's December 18th, 2022. And the only reason I knew that was because they were playing the FIFA World Cup.
yeah,
And I was like, why the hell are they watching the FIFA World Cup in Christmas?
yeah.
So I had to Google it. And it's December 18th, 2022 when they're playing guitar. And there's like 100 people at this house to watch this game, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it's all we know is in the
It was
Midwest.
weird.
It's very weird.
I
So he
barely
goes
get
to
anyone in my house to watch anything with me.
it's very like juxtaposition of so much crap going on. It's like they really had to hammer everything in at the very 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's Christmas time, the final match of the World Cup. Who knows really why? Um, and he walks in, and everyone's just doing their own thing, and we get introduced to his wife's character. I don't remember her name exactly.
Her name was
Lily,
Emmy.
played by
Emmy Foster. Forster?
was it? No,
Froster?
Lily Gamble,
Yeah.
right?
Emmy?
Played by Betty.
Yeah, by Betty.
Betty
Who was
Gilpin.
in The Hunt, which was a great movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, no, that's right. She looked from. But anyway, and she's upset that no one ate her tuna Santa, which which
This is
I'll just
important.
I'll just I'll just say
Remember, that came up later. There was foreshadowing about the tuna
it
Santa.
was the reason I'm bringing it up is because clearly the director and the writer wanted me to know this information,
Yeah.
so they put it in there.
Yeah.
And I'll just say right now, if anyone ever offers you a tuna Santa at a Christmas party, just punch them right in the throat because
Yeah.
clearly they don't care about you at all, and neither should you. It's disgusting.
That's the laziest like snack appetizer you can make. Just literally like she took a bunch of tuna, like dumped it on a plate,
Tomatoes.
and then she probably didn't even like wash her hands. She probably went, all right, let me mold this into a Santa.
She didn't even drain the can. She just threw that bitch in there like cat food and just said, "Here you go. Eat your fucking slop, you animal."
In the shape of a Santa. Yep.
It was gross. Anyway, I missed a very key point. He's
Mhm.
walking in, and for some reason, he has his non AirPods. He's got his cabled headphones in.
Yeah,
And
which was
he's on a
weird.
phone call, but he's on hold. But keeps them on the whole time he's walking through,
Yeah.
and he doesn't explain why. We're just walking through the house. He has a binder full of documents, beer. He drops the beer out. Tuna Santa comes out. Then he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go take this call outside, I guess." Which makes the point of like, why didn't he just take the call out in the first place?
Yep.
But anyway, he goes out there because he's actually doing a phone interview for a high school teaching job.
No, I think he was trying to work at a biomedical lab. He currently has a high
Or
school teaching job.
he said he was working at the lab, but they said no. They didn't explain at all where he's gonna work. All
Yeah, that part confused me because, like, I think later on the whole point was that he wanted to work at a biomedical lab, but he was stuck being a
well,
teacher. And
that's
then
what I'm saying.
he did say like, well, like, what? Well, you're gonna be having to teach a bunch of high schoolers. Like, what experience do you have in leadership? Well, I was in the military. And then later on, it was like, oh, okay, like, but which was weird. It made I think that was like a writing error, like, or
The whole movie was a giant writing error.
the whole.
Because let me just give you a quick breakdown of this. If you're not familiar with writing, if in any movie a character says they just throw in there offhandedly that yeah I had combat experience in Iraq, it's just a lazy way for the writer to put in there that they need to boost his XP before they see the character do some unrealistic shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that's a lazy way to say oh yeah this guy can throw jet skis at motherfuckers and not get hurt. Like it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'll digress. Yeah, I'll digress. So he gets a phone interview for the job, and he's on hold for like at this point in the movie, it feels like it's been 10 minutes, and then he finally gets back on the phone with them, and he's surprised he doesn't get the job, even though he's been on hold for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he loses his shit and starts breaking everything. And turns out that those documents were, I guess, his resume, but he was holding his resume even though he's on the phone for the phone interview. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And all of this is going on, and we're 5 minutes into this movie, and nothing has happened.
Except for the hee-haw, hee-haw. That's your favorite part, right? Hee-haw, hee-haw.
The hee-haw.
That was you when watching this movie.
Like, that's him breaking everything. That's the scene. He's losing his shit for some reason. Anyway, so then he comes back inside. He gets a pep talk from his daughter. because and also I'll just put out there, why did they write her character like those fake Twitter stories where the kid tells the parent to start an LLC? Like, why
You're
do they
right.
always do that? Like,
Your kid didn't say that. Your kid
your
didn't say
kid
that.
didn't say that. Like, why
Mm.
can't you just make it like a character, just be a kid, just doing little kid shit? You don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
She don't need to give him a pep talk. He's a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the World Cup is on. For the only purpose is to, I guess it's like a lazy way to say, oh shoot, we missed releasing this movie for the Olympics, so the World Cup's coming on, so might as well that be like the point in time where everyone's going to be kind of watching TV
On Christmas. Yeah.
on
On Christmas Day.
Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway, so
The way
they're
the
about to
synopsis is
go.
broken out on IMDb is the world is stunned when a group of time travelers arrive from the year 2051 to deliver an urgent message. 30 years into the future, mankind is losing a global war against a deadly alien species. The only hope for the survival is for soldiers and civilians from the present to be transported to the future to join the fight. Among those recruited is a high school teacher and family man, Dan Foster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so the match is a way to bring attention to the fact that future soldiers that appear out of nowhere in the middle of the game are there to warn people. Which I don't know how anybody heard her because she didn't have a microphone. She's talking to everybody in a giant stadium during the World Cup,
Yeah.
mind you. And she's asking people to help them fight against a threat that's going to happen 30 years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'll just say right now, it seems like a dumb plan. I wouldn't go back in time because it wouldn't work. Plus, depending on how you theorize time travel, it would never work. Since if you go back in time to stop something that's causing you to need to go back in time in the first place,
Yeah.
if you go back in time to stop that thing that's going to happen to you, it would
See,
never
the
cause you to go back in time in the first
so
place.
the only part that I thought like where the time travel could be useful is the fact that like if all they're doing is going back and then pulling you from the past that because they know you're gonna die because that was one of the stipulations they were only bringing people that they knew were gonna die so that they in the movie it was joked about
Kinda,
it being a
kinda,
paradox but I think it
kinda.
was just so they wouldn't affect the timeline or whatever but
I want to just throw that in there because it's kind of like that. Because they did say at the beginning of the
well
movie
what I mean is the
that they
fact that they
sent
weren't
all their
returning them
soldiers.
if
They
they weren't
sent
taking them
all.
back.
Well, they were taking them back.
No, they were taking him back in time. For me, I think the time travel would only work if like they were like, well, you're staying in the future once you go to the future.
That's
Like,
how it could work, right?
yeah, like the
But
idea that you get to go
once,
back for your TDY after 7 days of combat. What?
well, and then again, it's like 7 days of what? Like future time, past time.
Future time?
Like it doesn't matter because
Why
if you
was it
have a,
7 days?
why are you in a time crunch?
Mm-hmm.
If you literally have a time machine between point A in time and point B in time, you have an infinite amount of time
Mm-hmm.
because you can jump between these 2 points for eternity, and as long as you're jumping between these 2 points, you're fine.
Yeah.
Which that's just another big plot hole. I'm not gonna get too into it because that's giving this movie too much thought. But it's just like the whole point of the movie was like they're under this huge time pressure, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
30 years. But it's like really, couldn't you, I don't know, keep somebody as a reference? Move them
Yeah.
all the way from point A to B in the normal timeline. Send
See
them back
this.
in time to point A, and then have them live the remainder of the 30 years developing whatever they need to solve the problem. And if they die, then somebody else learns that experience and then repeat the process. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
so like cuz like the long story short cuz the whole point is like we're basically just talking to people who've seen it, right? You and me have already seen it. So it's
yeah,
like the long short of it for like those who haven't would be like the fact that like uh time people from the future come back to the past and tell us that the human race is dead in 30 years unless we go to the future and help them, which means there's an entire worldwide draft where you're going to be taken into the future for 7 days, help them fight whatever the are doing, and then you get
no.
to come back after 7 days, and then you get to survive. And then Chris Pratt finally gets drafted, and his family is like sad, obviously. And when he
We're
gets to
missing.
the
We're
future,
missing. Sorry, we're missing a huge point that I don't know why they needed to include this in the movie,
hmm,
but they somehow did it. I guess for comedic relief. But here's something to keep in mind if you haven't seen the movie, and if you did, tell me what you think in the comments. Because they had this. There's the whole point was to send people to the future to help them fight the problem, right?
yeah,
Because aliens, in case we didn't. But they sent all the soldiers from all the world's armies to fight, and there was such a high mortality rate of like over 80%. So if you were in a bucket and you got sent to the future, less than 20% of y'all would come back and survive,
Yeah.
not including those that lost or had like injuries and bodily harm and all that crap.
Yeah.
But it got so bad that they ran out of soldiers to send. So they had to implement a worldwide draft where anybody from any part of the world would get drafted to get sent to the future to fight as soldiers, quote unquote, um, without any training or anything. So literally, they're
So
showing what
there
grandparents.
was I was again like I think you could get some more of the story like reading the IMDb trivia, but I do see the point of like having like every Dick and Joe like being drafted, because like in a real draft you're only supposed to send people that are fit for duty. Like you don't want a bunch of unfit people.
You're just sending them to the meat grinder.
Yeah, so the point was that these people are meat grinders, because one of the things they were going to add into the story was the fact that people who go into the future, like after they sent the first wave, then they were just getting anyone because they were putting the toxin in the people. So when the creature was eating the people, they're the alien creatures, the white spikes as they call them, they ingest the toxin, and then they decided that's probably a little too dark, and they wrote it out the story. And it's
I
like,
wasn't.
then what's your fix? Oh, the fix is these people are dead anyway in before that the time they jump. It's like, man, that toxin thing would have at least been redeemable to a little extent.
It would have made more sense as to why they're sending a homie in a chef hat that's like 80 years old.
With this, why he showed up? Why did he show up to MEPS military entrance program with his chef hat?
His full chef like outfit.
He's like, listen, let me tell you something, all right? You
they
dress
put
for
a
the
flag
job
jacket.
you want, not the one you have.
They call him Cookie, and he's here to fight the aliens.
Oh.
But like they literally put him in the flak jacket, and they said, "All right, son, you're getting sent." Like they didn't even take
They're
off
like,
his hat.
I don't even know why
His
this
chef
guy's
hat.
wearing a chef hat or a chef outfit. He's not even a chef. He's a security guard.
But that's what I'm
You
saying.
dress
It's
for the job you want, not the one you have.
it doesn't make sense. It's like why even include that in this movie?
That was
Like,
dumb. The whole chef hat. Like, they could have been like, that guy's a chef. I don't know what he's doing here. No, we have to
like
have the chef hat. Like, they should have played like a little Italian beat to the background.
they
His
should
name's
have had a
Lieutenant
mime in the back.
Boyardee.
They should
Yeah.
have a mime in the back with the whole mime outfit. He's just going whoop at all the aliens because that would have made
What about those 5-7 guys back there? What, the Indian guy, the cop, and the firefighter, and the
clown car full of
the construction guy? Oh, those guys are from the YMCA crew.
it's like it just doesn't. Like, okay, if I'm not gonna say anything on the IMDb because it didn't happen in the movie that we all saw.
No.
So like that's giving.
No.
Giving
Yeah, no,
way too
100%. That goes to the same extent of like the whole Ryan Johnson's argument of like, well, you got to think about this, and also this is what I was trying to get at. It's like, no. If the movie doesn't explain it, then the movie's wrong. You can't.
It doesn't exist.
I'm not supposed to go through Twitter or go to IMDb to get the rest of the answers of why the hell did you do this. If you don't answer in the movie because it's mysterious or because it's atmospheric, I don't give up. If you're Christopher Nolan or
Yeah, just come with the movie.
or Quentin Tarantino, if you can't figure that out in your movie when you were filming the movie or when you wrote it, then you're done. You're terrible. You just stick to Lego movies at that point.
No, that's what I'm gonna say. Like the biggest gripe I have with this movie, and it touches on that because it's not like they had, oh, we only have an hour to do this. They had 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
this is a long movie.
it was.
I literally thought the movie was over, and there was still an hour left.
Right, whenever he got back with the thing, you're like, oh, they could fade the credits. They could fade the credits, and I'd be done. I'd be like, okay, yeah, like they got it, it's done. Like, okay, cool. But then there's 30 minutes.
We'll talk about that in just a second because like it's this movie's bananas.
Yeah.
Okay, so like anyway, so he gets drafted, which mind you, he doesn't get drafted. He gets a call from like the weather service app on your phone, and Amber Alert to go into like the office or whatever, right? So he leaves. No, actually, I'll take it a step back because this apparently was very important to the plot. He's at school, and he's obsessed with science. Like he's supposed to be a scientist, but I guess they only Googled like science jobs because they didn't give you any backstory into like what field of science does he do? Does he know anything about science? No, you're just expecting him to do every single thing that has to do with anything regarding chemistry.
Yeah,
STEM, like which is already lazy as hell to do for any character.
Yeah,
but he's a science teacher in high school, and he's teaching a bunch of kids that aren't interested in this, except for one kid who is like, y'all got to keep him away from the lava,
The
like the
volcano boy.
volcano boy. He's very important to the plot of this movie. We'll get to him in just a bit.
He was
But there's
just as important, and his speech was foreshadowed, just like the tuna Santa. It was very essential. It was very important. We got that dialogue in.
it was very important because they took you out of the scene
Yeah.
to talk about this,
The
right?
dialogue
So
was so cringy, dude. The dialogue at certain points
it
were
didn't
just
make sense.
so bad. Like the military dialogue, even more so. Like I was just like,
It's like
ugh.
everybody like. Here's how you know you're also watching a shitty movie, in case you don't know. But if there's any military character and they always have to make them gruff and angry and pissed off, that's a shitty movie. Because
Mm,
you can have characters that just happen to be in the military that don't act like they're from the 1980s like military movie. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's always bugged me. I had to say it.
yeah,
Like all the characters are pissed off for no fucking reason. Like they just got there. Why are you mad?
yeah. What you mad
But
about?
anyway, there's a volcano kid. He's very important. We'll get to that in a second. He's so obsessed with volcanoes that like even the teacher doesn't want to call him because he's gonna
Even
tell
the
us all.
teacher's like Chris
He's like,
Pratt's like, like so we know as an audience that this kid likes volcanoes, and it's
like he's
so annoying.
there's some sexual tension between him and the homemade volcano.
Volcanoes. Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. He gets an Amber Alert, goes to the office to like, what's going on? I'm here to take my blood pressure. And then they're like, nah, we're gonna kidnap you and send
Yeah,
you to a
right
field.
there. Like immediately, like he was like, "Wait, what's happening?" No, like they go through his paperwork or they scan
Yeah,
him and they get all his information,
it's
his
Total
records from the
Recall,
future.
guys.
Yeah, which again, his father-in-law, Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
His potential father-in-law, I guess.
No, they're
But
married. 2019. I
oh,
looked it
there you go.
up.
But so yeah, he gets full on like, oh man, we got this device on you that's gonna. It's literally an ankle monitor, but it's drilled into your wrist,
Yep, right there.
which does everything apparently.
It's
It's
a
like
time travel machine, right? No,
it's like
it's the beacon to help you time travel.
it's both a time travel machine because apparently anywhere in the world you can time travel with it.
Yeah,
We'll get to that point in a second.
yeah.
It's a GPS monitor. It's drilled into you. It knows you're alive, and for some reason it's the size of your
A
forearm.
Pit Boy.
It's a Pit Boy
Yeah.
basically.
So like
And
okay, like before we keep going, like there's it's great when movies take like inspiration of or like took certain like aspects from like other movies, whether it's like Aliens or like the Terminator, and they don't pay. I mean, they might say we pay homage to like this, or we incorporated this element. It was necessary. Fine, like that's cool when it works. This movie, it's a rip off. It literally rips off all these different sci-fi movies, like so blatantly, like trying to like use it like as a tool to get to their story across. Like and you can see that in a lot of the behind the scenes or like discussions. It's like it rips off like The Thing. The alien was frozen under the ice for 100,000 years in the movie The Thing.
spoiler
Like
alert.
right. But like in this movie the aliens were already there. You find out in the end they were under the ice in Russia for hundreds of or thousands of years, right? So like they rip off The Thing, they rip off Aliens, they rip off Terminator, they rip off a bunch of movies, but don't even do it right. Don't even use the elements in an appropriate way. And I don't know
Make it work.
if
It's a mismatch.
yeah, and that could work, but I think what hurts it the most is just the overall direction and the dialogue. The direction and dialogue has to be some of the worst I've seen. Editing's whatever. If you see in the Jungle Cruise, the
Oh
editing
man,
is atrocious. Like, but if you
no,
see this movie, the editing's like whatever. Like,
it's pretty bad. There's so many cuts. And not to interrupt you because you're
yeah,
making
no
it,
good.
but it's there's so many cuts between when they're sitting on the couch at the Christmas, and I hate to touch back on the Christmas party to be very.
But I really took it personally.
I took that personally because I was taking notes,
Mm.
and they keep cutting. They're sitting on the couch. He didn't get the job. He's throwing a bitch fit, and they keep cutting between the Chris Chris Pratt,
He didn't
the
get the job. He's sort of bitch of it.
the father, the
uh,
daughter. They're having a tender moment, and for some effing reason, they keep cutting between that tender moment and the mom who happens to sit next to them.
Yeah, and
And
then
instead of
her emotions
showing,
keep changing every 5 seconds,
yeah,
like her
it's just
face.
like, but it's like literally like imagine you're watching like a scene,
Yeah,
and then like in the middle of dialogue, I just cut to some random person just giving you a random emotion,
yeah.
and then it cuts back to that, and it's like, okay, I can't build an emotional connection if someone's making goofy faces at me, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
which is
and it's
funny, like, cause then that's like editing like theory, right? Like, when is the right time to like cut a scene and how to cut it? But it's funny because there's times where like that makes you think. There's times where I'm watching a movie, and like say you the main character, like whatever the actor is, it doesn't matter the actor. Like the actor's delivering important dialogue or exposition or their feelings, and then they're cutting back to the person listening, right? And it's fine if the person's talking about something and when they cut to the person like they're doing right here, it doesn't break you out of the scene like, oh, this is a movie. But when they do it so blatantly where it's like it's a weird snap, and they cut to the other person as the main character is talking, or another character is talking, like a voiceover, you can tell that they did that because the director clearly didn't like the emotions running across the actor's face, but they still need the dialogue, they still need the words. Like, so say if Chris Pratt's talking right here, and then they cut to his wife's face like that, or wait, the close up right there, say they do that, and they do that while he's talking, you can tell they did that because they didn't like the look on Chris Pratt's face while he was delivering that dialogue. It wasn't conveying enough like seriousness or reality, and it took the director out or the editor out of the scene. So they were like, we should probably cut to this close up, right? I think that's funny. That's just a random thought that pops in my head, and I see it a lot in movies. But in here, yeah, they do that. But I think that's because they're trying to like get her emotions. But it does pull you out, where it's like, okay, I don't care. Like, where's she adding? Like, she's not even crying right now. So why are we cutting to this? It's one
it's
thing
like
is we're cutting to her because she's talking. Yeah, the intention's on her. But like, see, she's
it's like
talking. They're cutting
10
on him.
cuts. It's like
Yep.
10 cuts. This is happening. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's supposed to be like literally like this is the only conversation. That's the only one. That's a lie. This is probably the most conversation that he has with his daughter before he goes into the future.
Let's not forget that.
Right?
Hee haw, hee
Let's not
haw.
forget the hee haw because that's important. But this is a very like literally like this is only the real dialogue that these two characters have before like he has to go into the future and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, why are you choosing this point to like cut back? I don't know. It took me out of the movie. I made note of it. I had
Yeah.
to talk about
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, if they're not gonna do anything with like having those kind of cuts, like if they're too reactionary, it's like, why are you doing it? Because like you're trying to like add her emotion into the scene, then that's fine. But if it's not stretching out the scene, but it's weird, like it's weird. Like it again, like it takes me back to Jungle Cruise where you start to see stuff and you're like, why are you doing this? This is weird. This is absolutely weird. I'm obviously watching a movie. I think that's where you just start to get too meta, you know, in what you're doing. Like you're presently at the movie theaters or you're presently at
it.
your house watching
Yeah.
a movie.
Oh,
But
I may want to check your software. I think I don't know if you can. Anyone can.
oh, to like see?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know what that is. But
But anyway, so I don't want just to bury the hatchet. So it jumps. So now he's getting drafted. He got the thing on his arm. Yada yada yada. He goes to see. Oh, forgot about this huge plot point
yeah,
that I guess was very important. But his dad abandoned him when he was a little kid,
his daddy,
and his daddy,
his
and
papa.
and anyway, he doesn't like him. There's some conflict between the two characters. Uh, but then he goes to see him to take off his bracelet that tracks him,
Yeah.
which they like. I was surprised when the character came up because I was like, oh shit, J.K. Simmons. Oh, his J.K. Simmons is his dad, and he's jacked
Spoiler
as hell.
alert: J.K. Simmons is dead. Which, okay, another IMDb funny trivia that comes up is how J.K. Simmons even got the role for this movie. Oh my god, this is bad. Like, because they talk too much about J.K. Simmons being rich. J.K. Simmons is a 60-year-old. Shocked. Where is it? Okay. Shocked his much younger male co-star with his muscular physique and bulging biceps. Chris Pratt said it was unbelievable. I was like, is that even possible? He's got prison muscles. That's Chris Pratt talking. I was like, dude, where have you been? I can't tell you how many times I've talked to JK or I've talked about JK Simmons' arms. They're freaking jacked in this movie. The J and JK stands for jacked. He's ripped. I see, like everybody's talking about his arms, right?
He's
And then
basically saying that he's a cum guzzler. He's a Mac
right.
he's a Mac Daddy. Like he's Rambo 3 level
This
jack.
whole section is about complimenting his muscles, but supposedly the director saw the I'm sure some bunch of people saw J.K. Simmons' post where he was like jacked in the gym. His personal trainer like posted the picture online. He was training for the Justice League to play Commissioner Gordon, and he got like super ripped. I don't know why he's got to do that to play Commissioner Gordon,
And, more
but
power
yeah,
to him.
so that's
He
what got
looks
him
good
casted
for
in
him.
this movie.
He is. I'm not gonna say he looks good. I
Yeah,
agree with Chris Pratt. Like more power to J.K. Simmons. I was even like,
the J
whoa.
stands for jacked.
The J does stand for jacked. If you're gonna see this movie, just see it for J.K. Simmons because he's
Mm,
jacked, and the movie makes you know. Like it lets you know he's jacked.
mm-hmm. And the
But
K
anyway,
stands for ketamine.
so anyway, so he sees his dad. His dad's J.K. Simmons. He's jacked. He abandoned him, and
Because
for some
he was dealing with PTSD from Vietnam.
oh,
So
and
like
I just
supposedly
I
he
just
like didn't want to be around him because he was too dangerous. He abandoned his wife and kid and then left. And then years later, like when Chris Pratt's an adult with kid, he finally realized like, okay, I messed up. I want to reconnect with my son. Yeah.
but he's also, and this is again another a good warning if you're gonna watch a shitty movie, and that's how you can tell is if for whatever reason they introduce a character, whether it's a side character or whatever, and they just give you like a 5 second snapshot of like them doing all this crazy shit. That just lets you know that it's a shitty movie
Yeah.
because like he's there to get this bracelet taken off by his dad. His dad's like, I'm a pilot. I got all these kick-ass weapons. I'm a badass. Also, I got my master's at MIT as an
Cal State.
engineer. Oh, Cal State as an engineer. And I also got PTSD from Vietnam. It's like, man, where the hell did you get all time to do all this? I guess you did all this when you abandoned your kids,
Oh,
or
did the
when?
dad go to Cal State? I don't remember where the dad went.
I don't know. All I know is that he's there to take off his like high tech military GPS time travel technology, and he's like, you should have. I could take this off in 5 seconds. Let me just get you real quick. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And then he
Like this.
realized like then like as he's talking about it like where um he almost like says like, oh, this is when you need me. Like then Chris Pratt realizes like, oh, he doesn't want to be like his father. He doesn't want his father. And then he's like, no, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna be
I'm
drafted.
gonna
I'm gonna go
I'm
fight
gonna
this one.
get. I'm gonna do what I want to do. So
Yeah,
anyway,
because they're gonna run away, be draft dodgers, like
and
former discredited President Trump.
Muhammad Ali. That's a different story. Anyway, so they go into the future. He goes into the draft, and then they do the little montage of them training. Not the training, but them like getting equipped, and the chef's there. They make a point to talk about the chef. We get introduced to a new character
The chef.
who serves no purpose but comedic relief, and also being, I guess, a researcher, R&D at a company. They don't talk about it for more than a second.
Oh, the Charles, Charlie
I
or
believe
Charles?
Charlie.
Yeah,
Anyway, he's
he was a researcher for a geothermal company.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
let's talk about that, and when we get to the volcano, because I had a lot of questions about why he didn't know.
Mm.
But anyway, so he goes there. He doesn't. He's the only one there that has training. Clearly, everyone is like a mixed mash of random people from the
Yeah.
Midwest, and they get sent to the future. And there's a mix-up when they're getting sent to the future, so they get sent to Miami for some reason.
Yeah.
But actually, no, that is I don't get that. So like there was like they messed up, the machine broke or something as they were getting sent forward,
Yeah.
right? But it didn't have any impact to anything, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like they were in a different time period
No. Or timeline or
or
river
time.
as they describe it. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So it's like, why even bring it up? I guess the only purpose of this was to isolate the characters, and instead of having 60 background characters in this scene, now we're focused on the main character that's on the billing.
Yeah.
But so they land there, and like they're like, oh snap, the aliens are here, and we're gonna
Well, so
find
wait,
out.
well, first, before you go on, like that was another part that really pissed me off. So like this is the scene, right, where they were told like, okay, you have 7 days to prepare, then you're gonna deploy, then you're gonna be 7 days in the future, and then you're gonna come back after your seventh day, and
If you're
then
still
they get
alive.
there. I think they were there for like a day or 2 days, But then immediately it was like an emergency call. Bah, 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 go, 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 go. We got to go. And then
Yeah,
like Chris Pratt, like, what? I thought we had like 7 days to prepare or whatever. I think it was 7 days. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
she's like, well, the time doesn't wait. Like, fine, whatever. But she could have like shown like more emotions. Like, no, this must be really serious if they're calling y'all right now. Like that would have conveyed more like, oh, like okay,
A
this
sense of
it's go
urgency.
time. Yeah. Oh shit, let's go. Like, but they did it. She was just like, the future waits for no one or whatever. Like the future waits for no man would have been
They said,
funny as hell.
"What? You got a time machine or something?"
Yeah. What do you got a time machine? Yeah, if it's a time machine, like what does it matter? They could have they
That goes back to our
they're
point,
waiting
our
for
earlier point.
30 years. Like they're like what is the point of these 7 days other than the quote unquote Sabbath, which they based it
Oh
on the
god!
fact that the aliens
For
on
some reason,
the seventh day of every week they would
they go to
excuse me,
church.
yeah,
They're
they would go to church. They would go into hibernation or whatever and sleep off, and then that's what they call the Sabbath, and they use that time to teleport everybody.
which okay, not that's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
But the
For some
part that pissed me
reason,
off wasn't that. The part that pissed me off was the fact that like they're like, all right, like go go go. So then everyone lines up, they get ready to teleport, and then they send them into the future like this. And they were told, all right, when you're gonna land 10 feet above. Or somebody says like, oh, get ready, it's gonna hurt. Everyone bend down. Like when you land, you're gonna land 10 feet above the ground. And somebody's like, oh, that's gonna hurt. And it's like, all right, that's interesting. 10 feet is really high. If a lot of people don't know, 10 feet is like taller than a
look up,
normal ladder.
look up at your ceiling. That's probably 10 feet.
Like no, you look up at your ceiling. That's probably higher than 10 feet because you got to look at yourself. You're like what
That's what
five,
I'm saying.
six,
Look
and then
at your
there's an extra
ceiling.
four. Yeah,
Imagine your feet, the bottom of your feet being at the ceiling.
and you're just dropped immediately. Like that probably hurt, especially if you telescope your legs by like
It's
flexing. So you got to
and
flex them, whatever. You're gonna eat
especially
shit when you fall.
if the only training you have is being a chef.
Yeah,
You
I'm
got
not
no
even a
experience.
chef. I just found this hat on the street. I thought it'd get me out of this thing.
I thought,
Yeah, like
I,
and then that was the intro to the movie too. Like, cause that scene happens like what 40 minutes or something into the
oh
movie.
no, we haven't. It's
But
like it's an hour before we see the
yeah,
aliens.
but like just before they teleport, the people doing the teleportation thing are like, oh no, the coordinates are off. What? It's almost like a ride at Universal Studios or Disney where it's
It's like
like
the
this is a normal ride, like in Jurassic Park where like you're going down the river boats and they're like it's just a normal ride. Wait, something's happening wrong. Oh no, you're going off course. Like, and it would have been fine if they would have explained that, like, oh, the machine broke. Like, okay, like you might not be able to come back. Like, but no, it's not explained. These guys are like teleported 200 feet above Miami, and then like they all start falling. Like it's a Rick and Morty episode. Like it almost becomes comedic. Of like, it's like this is not even like brutal. This is not even, like there is one to where they do show a guy like hitting the side of a building and falling off. But when you see like these many people falling to their death, it doesn't become like graphic or brutal. It just becomes like, what is this, a comedy movie? Like what, like why are you gonna do this and then have Chris Pratt like he's clearly gonna hit the side and then all of a sudden boom, he makes it right into the pool and then manages to survive.
because he had combat experience in that, right?
Yeah, so I think that's what pissed me off. See how he's gonna hit the side and then randomly he like moves
They
over.
boosted his XP at the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, so
But it's interesting how the ride, like, it tries to do this roller coaster aspect with the pacing, where it's just like adrenaline, like intense, like, and then like slow, quiet, like, oh, we gotta be quiet, the aliens might hear us, like, and real
oh my
stealth. But like in the middle, they'll do that in the middle of a scene. They're supposed to be running, like, which is absolutely terrible pacing.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
And I'll just say this from a plot point: if maybe the people from the future shouldn't be running the show because clearly they don't got a clue what's going on.
yeah,
If they're sending people falling 10,000 feet from the sky like willy nilly, 10 feet, like it doesn't make sense
yeah,
at all. Like, I'm not saying that from like logistic, like logical perspective because I know it's a movie, but in the realms of the movie's universe, it just doesn't make sense.
yeah,
Like anything going on, right? And that's where we land here. We're in the future, and it's like, oh crap, here we go, right?
yeah,
So they don't really explain what they're there for, and they keep telling the characters, "Oh, we'll tell you later," and they
yeah.
just never bother to tell them later, which really bugged me because I didn't understand the purpose of them going. Like they explain it at the end, right, with
Mm-hmm.
the toxins, but they're just in Miami, and they're like, "Oh, we got to go get the hard drives from
And the
from the
researchers.
the researchers
Yeah.
from the building, and it's like, okay, okay, it's a rescue mission, I guess, right?
Well, that's where like the movie tries to do a lot to like hold information from the audience and then give it to you little by little by like this is what they're gonna do or this is what it was for or can you believe this like as twists, but it just comes off so like
It
wasted.
comes
Like
up, yeah,
it's
like
just like
backhandedly.
it's just such a dribble. Like it's just like why like even this whole scene where like this is how literally the movie starts like that, right? It starts with like all these it starts with Chris Pratt like, oh shit, I'm falling, and then he wakes up and then they see Miami destroyed and then boom, and then it cuts like what 30 years earlier. It's like why they literally could have started at the Christmas party. He could have like walked in and been like, and then he's upset. Like the movie starts, he walks in, he's upset. His wife's like, "What's wrong?" Like, "I didn't get the job," and she's like, you know what? We'll figure this out. Like
It doesn't
I
need
know
to
it's
be
difficult for you. You know you felt you're meant for something greater. Blah blah blah. Fast forward, and then they're watching the World Cup, and then boom, the time travelers show up from the future. Like I get that they want to like pull the interest of because like they say if you can't draw the audience in within the first 10 minutes, then you're doing it wrong. Like especially for an action movie, if you can't draw the audience within the first 10 pages, which is considered the first 10 minutes of a movie, then it's wrong. And
and yeah, and
you don't
that's what
need
I
to do
said at
that.
the beginning. That's what I said at the beginning of the movie. If you believe that shit, they're lying to you in
Mm.
whatever school they're telling you. Because there's a lot of great movies that don't follow that approach,
Yeah, but
and
see
they're
that this is example of what happens when people think this is a fundamental.
this
When
is a
a
fundamental, and
fundamental, yeah, that's not.
that's
You
why I
don't
said
have
it
to
at
do
the
that.
beginning of the movie. If the movie starts at the end, it's just a quick, very quick word that says, "Hey, don't watch this movie because it's gonna take 50 minutes for anything to fucking happen."
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
for anything.
it didn't even take that long too. Like the Christmas party happens, he didn't get the job, and then immediately the
That
time
was
travelers
15.
show up from the future. Like
No, that was 15
there's
minutes.
yeah
That was 15 minutes of the movie, and it's just like it took. I'm telling you, like we don't see an alien. Like I know we've been rambling about a bunch of
which
nonsense,
that
but
was inspiration, quote unquote inspiration from Jaws. Like we're not going to show the creatures until the very end, which okay, that does work, but
in the
then
thriller,
yeah, in like a thriller, but is it an action or a thriller? Because they're trying to do both and it doesn't work. And you can do both, but you can't do it if you're not gonna stick to it and if you're not gonna get the pacing right.
oh, for sure, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm sure, like if you're listening to this, it feels like we've been rambling forever, but that's because we're going by step of what this movie's been going through, and so far we haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
It's just been a bunch of like ooh,
because it's
like
like
get you.
multiple different movies. Like
Oh yeah,
it's
there's a
time
bunch.
travel, it's time travel, it's an alien invasion, and then it's a horror movie. Like because you have all those different elements. Like the same with the slasher thing, where the slasher is he dead? Is he really dead? Because the same with the alien queen at the end, like with like ripping off aliens. Like
Oh
because like
yes.
so one of the other twists was like he's like really sad because like his daughter like who he had
Well,
the
actually before we get to that point, let's get right into like
hee
the
haw.
daughter, the daughter, because that's a huge point that I think to me did not make it. Just before we get to the actual like
Yeah, no.
finale,
Which
because okay, so the whole point of like okay, so they get to Miami, they get to the future, aliens invade, all the researchers that they're there to save are dead,
yeah.
blah blah blah, like terrible nonsense is going on. I will say the creature design they knocked that out of the park. I think
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
that
that was
was really
good. That was good.
very well done. And
Yeah.
if you're into creature design, take note because this is really cool. But anyway, so they do this. They're running away. All of a sudden, Miami has a million aliens, and they're like, they're aliens, but are they really? Because they're kind of like creature aliens. Think of more like xenomorphs from Aliens franchise instead of like aliens from Mars Attacks. Like they seem more like animalistic instead of like, oh, we're here to like take over the world style.
Yeah.
So they're running away from them, and they get 6,000 pounds of ordnance dropped off like 10 feet away from them, and none of the main characters die for some reason.
Okay, wait, stop. There's another IMDb trivia, which
Oh God!
no, wait. It's an IMDb goof, which is as soon as I read that, I was like, some Air Force captain, more than likely fighter pilot, wrote this. Like I know these fighter pilots, and this is exactly how they write this. Let me find this. It says, oh man, let me see if I can. I'm probably gonna lose it now. Okay, I'll see. Okay, yeah. Several F-22 Raptor fighters take off fighting aliens. As they approach the city, one shot flown of an F-35 Lightning II flying alongside an F-22. The F-35 is never seen again. No, sorry. Okay, this one. the blast from the F-22 bombing in the tunnel would have killed everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay,
It would have,
we didn't need somebody to write that goof. Obviously, this is a movie. Like, like
it's a,
the shockwave would have killed them alone, let alone
I'm
like
not
the
killing
whole
it.
destruction or the fireball like after
That's
that.
what I'm saying. It's 6,000 pounds of ordnance dropped 5 feet away from the main character. And
Like, okay, so
anyway,
whenever the colonel, right, because the main person in charge of the combat is known as the Colonel Foster or whatever, and that comes up is important later on. And two, also her name and the name of the family is important as well. There's another IMDb
I
trivia I'm gonna
wonder
hit you
why.
with, but Colonel Foster, right?
Yeah,
Forster. Yeah.
yeah.
She tells them like, you better hurry up. You better get all of those hard drives and the toxins or whatever they say, the samples or whatever, out of the city. We need you to go. They're gonna bomb the city. Like, and then they're like, we send an escort and Humvees roll up, and then the Humvees get attacked, and it's like one thing after the next after the next, and then
The
they're
Humvee
like, just keep running, just keep running, just make sure you're not running anywhere there's red like smoke or
smoke.
whatever. First of all, who dropped that smoke? Somebody had to place that smoke. Let
And
alone like they're running through the smoke. As soon as they're running through the smoke and it's like one thing after the next, I was like, what is this, a Lego movie? Like you're gonna have like, these little bits like be comedic where the audience are like, they're running through the smoke. Did you see that? It's red
Oh my
smoke and
god,
they're not supposed to be running through that smoke and they're running through that smoke. They're probably gonna die.
it's a
They're
red
probably gonna
herring.
die. Like why? Why? Is it a
Also,
comedy
sorry,
or is it an action?
sorry. I wrote this down, and this is the perfect time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're 30 years in the future. The year is 2051. 2 points. One, minor point, I guess. Why are they doing research in the future where the world is collapsing
Yeah.
with like limited electricity, limited fuel,
And
water,
technology.
and all this advanced technology? Why don't they just send? They could travel through time. They got advanced technology. Why
Mm.
don't they send all that research back in time so they have 30 years to research it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just one thing. But the bigger point is all the equipment they use. Like they're using F-22s, like F-35s, like there's 80-year-old technology at this point. Like you wouldn't show up to a like if you watch the movie today and we're
Mm.
fighting aliens in biplanes, you'd be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like why are we using at this point, like in today's day and age, like 10, 15, 20-year-old military technology? Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. Like the guns, like they're like, oh, you got to shoot them only in the neck or in the bellies. It's like, really? You had 30 years and you didn't develop I don't know, send an alien back in time, a dead one, and just study it so you can know how to
Yeah,
kill them?
because there's no stipulations. They clearly are able to bring their technology into the past. So like, why?
Yeah,
Yeah, why?
you can go
That
back
was
and
another
forth.
point. Is like, why couldn't
They
they do
came
all the
with
research
guns
in
at
the
the very
past?
beginning of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, and then also, like, if they're gonna do it in the past, like they would have had more time to develop. But also, at what point in 30 years between when the war actually starts and did they develop time travel? And then
3 years.
not even just time travel, but time travel on scale. They were able to not just teleport one person, but an entire platoon and like equipment, entire room of people. Like they were able to time
Oh,
travel.
but and that's another point because it's not just like, all right, everyone has to be in the same 5 foot by 5 foot area.
No,
It's
yeah,
like
they could be anywhere.
anybody
You could be
on the
hiding in a
planet.
closet. Yeah, you could be
You
hiding in
could
a
be
closet.
anywhere on the planet. You could be in Japan and the other guys in Beirut,
Yeah,
and they're both getting pulled back in time to the same location. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, why aren't y'all sending? Like, why are we? The whole point of this to send people to the future was because they're limited on resource,
yeah,
right? So why not just send all this information back in time so that you can use your resources? You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, it's like, what's the rush? And also, what's the point? Why do you need to do like the toxin research in the future?
yeah,
Like, why are you in a rush? Oh, we have 7 days. We have to do it before you go back in time. No, just send it with them. Send them the data sheet, the Excel file, and just go back in time and have a team of 100 people work on it, like around the clock, not just the 5 characters that are in this movie. You know what I mean?
hmm,
It just doesn't make sense, and it's like it was bugging me the whole time.
yeah. And then yeah, like because the main person whose idea was this was the colonel in charge of R Force, which is I think Research Force.
Research,
Yeah,
research force.
which
Very 5 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Colonel Foster, which ended up being his daughter, uh,
Yuri.
who he left, and then she was traumatized because like
I wanted to
apparently
go
whenever
see.
yeah, whenever yeah hee haw, whenever he came back, he was like all messed up and didn't want to deal with his daughter and stuff like that.
No,
Um,
that's
or
because
no,
of
the
two.
wife and daughter, and was like just like his father. So it's like, like George Lucas says, it's like it rhymes. It's a the story it
You
rhymes like
said that they got divorced and then she didn't hang out with him and then he died in a car accident.
yeah, which
And she's
like
mad at him for some reason.
kind of like
But
what they tried to do was like that Chris Pratt turned just like his father did, and then abandoned his daughter the same way his
but
father did.
it's
But that's not how that works. Like there has to be more to it, especially when like there's nothing that was happening to him that shows like this guy's messed up now. Like
not even that. It's not even like the reason she gave to me just seems like he didn't want to be married to his wife anymore. And they
mm,
got a divorce and he happened to get into a car.
yeah.
That's literally what happened. Like from her explanation.
So like
And then she's mad at him in like Chris Pratt that's in the future
yeah,
because of what something that he's supposed to do 7 years from his original point in time.
yeah.
And it's like she knows this. She's sending people back in time. So why are you holding a grudge? Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, it's
You're
he's
seeing where he's going. You're seeing what's happening.
yeah. It's like, come on. Like, it
It's
doesn't make sense.
understandable. It's understandable if like if she wasn't aware of the alien invasion, but no, she grew up with it, so she could be like, oh, this is the
It's
stuff that messed him up. Like I can see it now, like
oh man,
and be more
I'm
receptive.
literally in charge of this division of sending people back in time.
Yeah,
Oh, how did I not see? You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
let's say okay. And also, let's just say again, going back to the key point of character development. If you introduce a character and you only go over their background like resume in like 3 seconds and they've done a billion things,
yeah.
like that's just lazy character development. Because she's like, oh, I was a special forces. I graduated doctorate in biotechnology and genealogy, which are two
At Cal
completely
State,
no,
MIT.
no, MIT, which completely separate fields that have nothing to do with each other. She's a doctorate in that. Like she won the Super Bowl. Like it's a bunch of random crap. Like
Yeah,
it's like okay, we you don't have to tell us a character is talented. Show us. Like
it's
come on.
great.
Like
Yep, yep. Don't tell us, show us. Is another 101 film fundamental, which is
and
funny.
it's like and this is a very key point. And the reason they're showing us all this is because later on in the movie when they're doing all this research, it's only her doing the research.
Yeah.
It's like what team?
This you notice this was like a homage
Oh God,
of
yeah,
Doom.
yep.
That
That's what Doom
that was
and
very Doom, right?
it was. What was the movie? It'll come to me. But there's another movie that does the same thing. That I won't
Alien
find.
or Alien AVP, Alien versus Predator.
Yeah,
Whenever all the aliens are climbing up the
yeah.
pyramid, that's another one.
It just goes on like lazy writing. It's the main theme of this
Do you
whole
remember
movie.
whenever she introduced herself and she said it's a Forester? Do you remember what Chris Pratt said?
With one R or two.
So there's a reason for that. Here's another IMDb
Oh man.
trivia. The main heroes in the movies have the last name Forrester. In War of the Worlds, another film about alien invasion on Earth, the main hero's last name is Forrester, two R's.
See,
That's why. Is because
I
they put the same last name as the characters from War of the Worlds, which those aliens were also apparently under the Earth for thousands of years.
see that guy in IMDb. You, now me, and anybody listening to this podcast are the only people on this planet, apart from the director, that know that information.
Yeah,
It's just like, why waste time of doing that? Like you can cut down the runtime on this 2.5 hour long
you're
movie
wasting time.
where
Yeah.
aliens are only in this movie for not even 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
anyway, so that's the daughter. Like she's from the future. Well, she is her from in the future, and he's from the past.
Yeah.
And they're going through it. They have to capture an alien queen. Well, not sorry, that's messing up my genre. But the female wink wink alien
Yeah.
that's laying all these eggs that they're putting toxins, and they never talk about the toxins. But now that you
The
mentioned
main
earlier
point is
that
it does work against the males, but it doesn't work against the females. They needed it to bond, and to be able
which
to kill the female, which was the main
which
point. Like at like what the at like 2 hours and no, like an hour and 50 minutes into the movie.
yeah, that's the main plot point of the whole movie is 1 hour and 50 minutes in.
Yeah, because the
Or
movie's actually done at 2 hours. Like the extra 30 hours is almost like a what's it called after the end of the book
B-roll
epilogue.
epilogue, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's that. It's like literally like okay, the whole point of all this back and forth, people dying, is because they don't know how to kill the female alien. And the female aliens are laying eggs. The male aliens will do anything to protect. You get the.
Yeah. See, this
But
is when they go
again,
back. When they go.
yeah, again, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you just send, I don't know, a dead female alien that you shot to death because you know that works?
Yeah.
Send the corpse back in time to study for 30 years and find out how to make this toxin. But I don't know. I'm just, I'm not a writer, so
Yeah, and then this part where it's like a blatant rip off of like Alien with like the
Prometheus.
jockeys. Yeah, the space jockeys and they're holding cargo. Like
Oh god,
yeah, cuz like where it's like the film has parallels to classic space alien films, The Thing and Alien slash Prometheus. As like
yeah.
the aliens like in The Thing were there for like hundreds of thousands of years, and then the whole like Alien Prometheus where they were holding the aliens as cargo, or the xenomorphs were being held as cargo. It's like, okay, you can do that. Like there's no one saying that you can't like copy ideas and elements, but when
As
you
an
do it
homage.
so cheaply that it like it's almost like you want the audience to be like, oh shit, that's just like Aliens, that's just like Prometheus, that's just like The Thing, that's just like Terminator, that's just like Interstellar, that's just like, no, that's just lazy, that's just so lazy that you didn't even try. And you know how like you can tell that like Paramount Pictures clearly did not have any faith in this movie, which first of all, you know how much did they put they paid for this movie, like the production cost?
Oh, isn't this like a $200 million
two
movie?
hundred million dollars movie. Why isn't it on Paramount Plus? Why isn't it on their streaming service?
Because they saw the movie, Bruce.
Yeah, because they saw the movie. You know how
They
much they
saw the movie.
sold the movie to Amazon Prime for?
How much?
Guess.
I don't know.
Just
I don't
try.
want to do. I don't
Try.
want to do it.
Hit
I'm gonna
me.
say like $1 because that's how
How
much
much? How much?
I would have got rid of it for $1. Like I would have said.
How much do you think that Amazon Prime paid for this movie?
I really don't know. Just tell me.
$200 million. So Paramount Picture like wiped their hands clean. They're like, that wasn't an
I,
investment. That was
is it,
nothing. We're gonna act like that didn't happen.
what movie?
Yeah. What movie? Wait, Tomorrow War? Yeah, I saw it. It's trash. It's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Prime. Check it out if you want. It's
Yeah.
taking up server space.
Which like
No,
then like what do you think of like the acting? Like cuz like Chris Pratt decent, but not in
Chris
this. He's
Pratt
not
is.
in this. In this it makes him look bad.
I hate to typecast any actor. I'll
Yeah.
say that because I think it's disrespectful to the craft
Yeah. And their
and the
potential
skills
range.
and the
Yeah.
potential range. Because I'll look. Here's a prime example: Matthew McConaughey, romantic comedies all the way up to True Detective, and
Yeah.
he's been killing it and everything else.
Now Academy Award winning.
Exactly. I hate to typecast any actor,
Mhm.
but it's if you put them in movies like this, it's very difficult to take them seriously.
Yeah.
In that regard, and I'll keep it to this movie because like the whole time, due to the writing, it just I'm like I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh
Yeah.
at anything he says. You know what I mean?
And
He's
that's
like,
where
oh,
like that's
you
where I
only
start
got
to
two.
question, is it the director's fault? Like were they trying to go for a more humorous approach with Chris Pratt because it's Chris Pratt because that's why they wanted him for that role? Or is it Chris Pratt like trying to elevate it because he thinks
Let's
that
ham it
it's
up.
too serious? Yeah. Like cuz there's a certain point where like that, and it's always going to fall on the actor. Like that's the actor's fault. Like obviously because
The director
that's
is
the
the
only
one that
person you
runs the
see.
show.
Yeah. But I mean that's really my own personal question is like whose decision was it to like take someone who's supposed to be serious and then make them funny? Like at what point like cuz you could have put Tom Cruise in this and it would have been fine. I think it would have been fine if it was Tom Cruise because he would have been able to hit those like serious, and then the elements of where it's humor, it's because the moment is humorous, not because he's making it humorous. You know?
Yeah, like it's just. I mean, that's a good question because I really don't know. Like the whole movie was kind of like a mix mash of like weird situations and weird like dialogue pacing.
Yeah.
Like an example, the alien queen, wink wink, is tied up and they're running tests on her, and it's like, oh god, we have 15 minutes before you have to leave
Mhm.
to go back in time, and we're having to decrypt all this information, yada yada yada. And he's like, well, we only got dinner. You got two options: let's buy veggie lasagna, or you got veggie lasagna. You know what I mean? It's like Like, what's the point of that? Like, why do you have to throw a giggle moment in like a point in the movie where it's I'm supposed to take
Yeah.
you and your situation seriously?
Yeah, and then and it's funny because like it would have been funnier if he didn't make that, like if he didn't put that on a pedestal, that line. He could have literally been like, "Hey, I brought dinner. But I brought dinner. There's options, either veggie lasagna or veggie lasagna." Like, and then that clicks for the audience of like, "Oh, it's the same damn thing. There is no choices." Ah, that's funny.
Oh yeah,
Like
or like
you can throw that line through and it's fine. But the fact that they're gonna make a point, I got two options: veggie lasagna or veggie lasagna. It's like,
get it, wink.
it's
Like
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like
stop.
you could have done it even better. Just say we have two options, and then just show that there's only two options.
Yeah.
Let the audience think for themselves, please. Like that's they just don't trust in their
Or like
audience.
it'd been like you have two options, and then he holds them up, and she's like, "Those are both veggie lasagna." Yeah, but they're two different hands.
That would honestly anything would have been better. But
Anything would
that's
have. It's
that's
already
not to
dumb.
sidetrack.
Just have
That's
fun
not to
with it.
sidetrack. It's just if they're gonna have fun with it, have fun with it.
Yeah.
But like it's just felt so weird, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think Chris Pratt, I don't think he was a bad choice because it's a bad movie.
No, like so the emotions like with him and his daughter, I was like really interested. I was like, damn, he could really do like a serious drama movie, probably with like a like family and stuff like that.
Like it's just the context. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when you add like this
No, no,
sci-fi and
actually,
he's trying to like be serious about the
sorry,
sci-fi stuff,
sorry.
it was just like,
I'll
oh,
take it back. There's one scene where I think, and I'm not gonna place blame on it, but I think it shows like how weird it is when he finally realizes that the colonel that he's been talking to this whole time is his daughter.
is his, yeah, what, 6 year old daughter or seven? He was like,
The
the last time I saw
7-year-old.
her, she was 7.
But instead of I don't know being shocked, he's just like, oh, cool, and then slowly starts to tear up.
Yeah,
Like you know what I mean? It's like really like, and I was thinking to myself as I was watching this, I was like, if I was in that shoes, like I'm pretty sure I would show more emotion than like,
yeah.
holy crap, like like you're an
See, and
adult.
that like that's something like in a writer's room, you like take time to think about like certain beats, and then like you almost like write it out on whiteboards, and you figure out like where he would be at in that moment in time. So say it's you, right? Say you're Chris Pratt in that character in that moment, right? And you travel to the future, whatever. Like we're talking in a different timeline where this movie is actually good, right? So like
Yeah.
they do the Miami thing, they get to the camp, right? Where do they? Yeah, they get to the first camp where he's like, "Oh, we're not in Miami anymore." Whatever. Why when he gets there, like immediately they jump into like that's his daughter, because they didn't give enough time for the build up to be like he gets her and
Character.
he's like, what's happened to my wife and kid? I literally just left them and I'm 30 years into the future. Is my wife still alive? Am I technically still? Oh no, he knows he's dead. But is my daughter okay? Like I am in an apocalypse where my family is still probably here. Are they
Exactly.
okay? And then it would been one thing if like she put her hand on his shoulder and was like, mom died 10 years ago, like
Or
and
something.
then like something clicked,
Yeah.
and instead like he's like, oh, you're the colonel, huh? And then she's like, yeah, yeah. And then someone's like, oh, Colonel Forster, like here's the thing or whatever I need you to sign. And he's like, Forster, is that 1 R or 2 R's? And then she's like, 1 R, like and then it finally clicks, oh, Muri. He's like, Muri, my daughter. And then she's like,
Like,
yeah.
yep.
And then like, yep. It's like, what a throwaway. Like, why are you doing it like that? Like, this is supposed to be a big like, oh, this is his daughter. But it'd be one thing if like it doesn't even work like that. It doesn't even work like that because it's just so like fast in your face that you don't even have a chance to be like, oh yeah, that's a daughter. Okay, all right, move on. Like,
All right, next. We're halfway through this 2.5 hour long movie,
yeah.
and we're just gonna run right through that.
Yeah, like
Okay.
she could have even done it. They could have even set that up even better if like when she got there, she whenever she looked him up, she's like Dan Forrester, and then she's like, all right, you guys got to get there, and then she's like stressing about it, making it, and then she pulls out a picture in her like pocket or whatever, and it's a picture of like her and her mom and her dad, and it's like, oh, that's the daughter. Oh shit, like, and you set that up, and then it clicks for him later, but like you don't even
It
do
would have
that for
worked.
the audience. What's the point of doing it at all?
It would have been better like at the when they're doing the whole toxin research.
Yeah,
quickly.
Like
Like
she
I
was,
mean,
yeah, no, I agree with that. You can do it at any point, but the way they did it is bad. Like, yeah, because they could have been like, she's like holding back the information the entire time, like never even.
bring it
Fortune doesn't
closer
even
to
matter.
this.
It's just call because they didn't want to even say Miri. They just call me Colonel. Like everybody's calling her Colonel anyway. Like, yeah, Colonel.
That's what I'm saying. Like at that point where they're doing toxin research, these characters have actually interacted more than just for 3 seconds.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, we finally have a okay. There's a connection there that's like a personal connection for the character, and
yeah,
now we're gonna throw it into the grinder and say, oh snap, this whole time you
yeah.
knew, like you know what I mean? Like that's a big buildup. But
See, and
instead, they're just in like they're like at the airport in the Dominican Republic, just going, oh yeah,
yeah.
found your daughter.
See,
What?
and this brings it back to the episode 1 of the podcast where we were talking about Suicide Squad and David Ayer's like mistake or the editor, probably not even him, but the editor's inability to understand that if you're gonna put music, like why did James Gunn do it and why are you doing it? You're setting up the emotion because this is what the characters are feeling. And then the audience will connect with that, as opposed to what the Suicide Squad 2016 did, where it's like, this is what you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel pumped. You're supposed to feel scared. You're supposed to feel
Oh,
excited. And the same happens where they want you to feel a certain way, but they're not even forcing it. They're just throwing it out there and being like, hey, it'll stick. It'll stick. Just keep
yeah,
throwing it at the wall. Something will stick. Like that
it's
doesn't
like
work like that.
they have zero trust in their audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it boils down. They
Yeah.
didn't trust the audience to think for themselves, think critically, and they're just gonna sit there and like a bunch of turkeys and watch this movie
Yeah.
because that's what it felt like. They're just throwing everything at you, like not even like towards you. They're throwing it at you,
Yeah.
trying to get you to get it. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay, move on. Like and it's for everything. The jokes, the writing, the sci-fi, the references. Like come on, like it's terrible
Mm-hmm.
in that regard.
All the
But
setup.
it is for nothing.
Yeah.
But but no, yeah, that's the only scene I could say that yeah, Chris Pratt could have handled that. I don't know whose fault that is because I wasn't there, but it's like that scene should have been redone because it's a big important scene for the movie and it sets up literally the remainder of the movie.
Yeah, because the main point is like this father connecting with his daughter so that he can figure out how to connect with his father. Like
Exactly.
it's funny because like that's one concept for the character's arc, right? But then like the rest of the movie, like it has its own like concepts, which like a movie like this, like you're going with all these different concepts. Like you can make it like this can be a bit high concept movie, which is like super cool and stuff like that. But when it comes to the execution, it has to be figured out in storyboarding and writing, not while you're like filming it, not while you're editing it or doing reshoots. Like, cause to like have like all these concepts and expect the audience to just follow along and be like, oh, that's cool, that's enjoy. Because when you go to a movie, that's the point of going to the movie. You go to the movie to enjoy yourself. And then, like, I mean, yeah, you can go back to like 90s and early 2000s movies where it's just like, or what 60s or 70s experimental indie movies where it's just like, well, not every movie is supposed to be happy and exciting. It's supposed to make you think. Okay, fine, but that's the thing is like, at the end of the day, like you're supposed to come out of it with something. Like, did you get something out of it? If you're watching a movie and you're like, I got a waste of time out of it, then what was the point of any of it? Like,
Another Wonder Woman situation. Is that like
yeah, because like it's funny because like even some of the visual effects, like you're just like, this is definitely like a $200 million movie. Like it's like when the cruise ship is sailing like and it's being attacked by the
wow.
aliens and it crashes, it's like Jesus, like that in itself is like a whole movie. Like the people, like the refugees coming in from like probably other countries into this port, and why were they showing up there, which was the last remaining society?
I didn't want to touch it.
Donna
I
Cruz.
didn't want to touch it because Doria brought this up as soon. That's like one of the few.
They
You know,
went
like,
out on a vacation. It was a vacation cruise.
no,
Corporations still got to make money.
no, she literally said, "So why is there a cruise ship there?
Yeah, why isn't it already docked? Why is it just pulling up now and then as the aliens are pulling up?
Yeah, why is it even there? Like,
Mm,
why a cruise ship? Is there people on it? Is there weapons on it? Like what's like who's fueling this cruise ship?
yeah,
You know, like it doesn't make sense. Like,
everyone's just vacationing.
it's on vacation. Like I don't know.
And the
Anyway,
fact that the aliens can already swim like that and scale like that. What was the point of that whole thing? Like the
what was the
whole
point of
facility.
building it
Like,
on an island? Yeah.
how do these aliens operate? Where like the queen can be taken um over
Anyway.
the ocean, like super far away in the middle of the ocean, and then the aliens somehow made it. How? So many
At any
questions.
point in time, at any point in time, she could be anywhere on the globe, and they can know where she's at.
Yeah,
That's
because of her like beeping and clicking and secretion of stuff. But the fact that like they said they were like pumping her with chemicals like every hour, like full of like
Made up chemical mud.
was it? I
I
didn't
think
even
it
look it
was.
up.
It was like hydro bananas. Like it was just like
Hydro
okay.
bananas,
They
hydrochlonazepam
put the word
bananas.
they put hydro in front of a random chemical and said, yeah, that's
Hydro, like it locks it
hydro
up, and it's all the audience
hydrochloride.
needs to know. 150 milligrams, 150 milligrams, like,
Wait,
and then
150. Yeah.
I
Every
was
2
thinking about
hours.
that. I'm like, what's 150 milligrams? What is that in football fields or cheeseburgers? Like,
No, no,
it'd be
just
one thing if he added like Jesus, that could kill 200 elephants. Like, and that clicks for the audience. Oh, that's what 150 milligrams. Well, I know what
yeah,
150 milligrams is.
yeah, because it's
Why
like
did he say it like that? That's what pissed me off when he said when she was like 150 milligrams of like this made up whatever, and then he's like 150 milligrams, huh? And it's like,
one, we
do you
don't know
guys
what
know
this
what the hell
chemical
that
is.
is?
We don't know what
What
the
does
chemical
150
is,
milligrams look like?
and we don't know how many milligrams is needed to sedate me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like 150 milligrams is like this much, right? Like a whole
So
like
a milligram in that sense. Well, I guess it's because it's diluted, but think about like a milliliter. I think it was milliliters or milligram. I don't know. But a milliliter,
150.
that's a drop
Yeah, no,
of
she
water.
said milliliters, right? Milliliters to
One
ounces.
mill one milliliter is a drop of water, like one drop of water
Yeah,
falling from. So it's 180 drops of water of milliliters.
it had to be milligrams because in ounces that's only like what 5 ounces.
Which again, how many? Like, is it Tylenol? Because that's not enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a two factor. Like, one, how much quantity, and what is the ingredient?
Let me put this in American. 150 milliliters is 0.3 pounds. But I'm pretty sure they said milligrams though, right?
I don't know. We're thinking too much. I
No, because
think.
like that's a big old beast. Like so. Wait, no,
Well,
milligrams is even smaller. You're right. Milligrams is smaller.
milligrams is very small.
Okay, then I'm an idiot. We already knew that. But the point is like that it's different like that like is examples of like who was writing this dialogue. This dialogue is so stupid. It's not even the fact that like the military jargon like is the cringiest thing in any movie, even military movies. Like the military jargon is just so cringy where it's just like the fighter pilots
So
coming in, we're coming in TOT immediate northeast bound, danger close, CED high, like
like
cleared hot fly,
flashcards
and
from
then like
fucking flashcards.
flying like this low to the ground. No, like fighter pilots, especially F-22s and F-35s, they're like miles away. Especially F-35s, they're like they're a whole state away, and they can hit precision instruments like
Yeah,
within
and they're
like
not going to
a
be
couple
hitting a
feet.
smoke fucking
Yeah,
bomb. You
but
know what
like
I mean?
hitting a smoke bomb like 20 feet above the ground, like
Yeah, bro. Like, come on. Like,
but
and,
like so that the military jargon's stupid and it's stupid in any movie, but the dialogue in this movie is so dumb. Like it just makes you realize that like anyone can make a movie and it's easy. It's like when George W. Bush became president and everybody realized like, oh, anybody can be a president. That ain't hard. Like it's just that like and how do you make a $200 million movie and the dialogue is that stupid? It's one thing if like the dialogue delivery is terrible or the dialogue like delivery in the scene is atrocious. Like the director didn't think about like if you're gonna have Chris Pratt deliver this line, why is he delivering it with his back against
the wall.
the wall, or why is he facing this way? That's a director specific thing. If it's like a director actor specific thing, it's like I don't
You're not
believe
doing
that. Like,
yeah.
listen, Mister. I am MIT. I am a firefighter, and I could be an astronaut if I felt like it. All right, now that's terrible acting. That's easy to pick out. But when it comes to like dialogue, where it's just like what? Like, why are you saying this? Like the whole 150 milligrams. Why? Why is he saying this? What does it matter? Like, does it matter? Like, if it does matter, tell me why as the audience. If I should know because I should be smarter and should know what 150 milligrams are, then what?
Like,
Of this
yeah.
made up chemical, like let alone like when they explain the why didn't you build two time machines? Well, it's built out of chicken wire and chewing gum. Okay,
Then why not
because
set
according to the
technology?
IMDb trivia, that's homage to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when they fixed the time traveling machine with chicken wire and chewing gum. It's like, why are you doing this?
And plus that he leaves a gigantic plot hole because
Mm.
it's like, okay, then why not you? I don't know, send some resources from the
Just
past to the
schematics.
future.
Why didn't they send the schematics back in time?
Yeah, just
So what was the point of the river? Why 30? It's one thing if like there's only enough energy in the time travel machine to reach 30 years forward or backwards, right? That would make sense if it's like we could only reach a certain distance. Just explain it. It's a throwaway line. But the fact
and
that it's just an arbitrary number.
That
because
pissed
this
me
is
off.
when Chris Pratt is here. This is when the dad Forrester is here because our research, our force commander Colonel Forrester wanted it specifically this era.
Because she wanted to talk to her dad. Like that would have made like okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But like they even take the time out of their day and their budget and their writing to throw that in so they can slap anybody paying attention to this movie in the face.
yeah.
Because they character asked that they're like, why don't we just build more than 2 time machines? And they're like, oh, you're too stupid to understand this. And then they move on. They just continue the story. It's like, oh, okay,
It's
cool. You
funny
guys
because
are
like for a very like one track movie because it doesn't bounce back like Back to the Future, which is a brilliant movie
well,
like using that.
no, it kind of does though.
But no, it's mainly like going back as far as like what's like happening like thought or like emotions or like if you look at it like regardless of the editing cutting back it like he's in his current time, they find out about the alien
Oh, I
invasion,
see.
the draft is
Yeah.
happening, and then his turn is to get drafted, he goes into the future and then he helps them get the chemical or figure out the chemical, and then he goes back to his current time and then he finds the alien ship, finds the queen, kills her, and then the movie's over. So the movie really takes place in like a span of like a week, which is fine. But the fact is, like, you could literally cut an hour out of the movie when you're not going back and forth discussion wise, like, well, what, your father or my father, or like
Or
the whole
you don't
like
spend,
showing the middle scene in the beginning and then going back to the
yeah,
beginning and then continuing.
or spend 5 minutes on tuna sand.
Yeah, why? Like, why is that relevant? Like that dialogue, the tuna Santa thing. It's fine if there's something about it. Like,
Oh, there was, and I'll get to it at the very end because I figured you put this on IMDb. I'll put it on there at the end of this podcast,
all right,
but I'll touch back on it.
yeah,
So anyway, so just to get here, so we're all this whole time we're at halfway point in the movie basically,
yeah,
right? So they get the toxin, um, yada yada yada. They're gonna die, and the daughter that's an adult in the future. She's dying, and Chris Pratt's like trying to save her, which I understand from like a character's point of view, like oh his daughter is dying and he's trying to save her, but the movie has made it very clear many points in time that this is a timeline.
yeah,
So her daughter dying in the future has nothing to do with anything since he's going to go back in time to see his daughter and prevent her from getting there in the first place. So why is he risking the entire mission to save her in the first place,
yeah,
even though she's already dying? Anyway, so he gets them back in time. They get the toxins. They're mass producing it, and then I call it the squad because it's the main characters at
yeah,
this point. There's no longer like these like, external characters in the sense of like soldiers and all this other crap. It's them trying to figure out where the aliens come from, right? And they go through this really weird, I would call it like a montage of them trying to figure out like where the alien comes from. So they have one of the soldiers who, oh god, he's he's deployed to the future like 3 times already,
hmm,
and they tried really hard to make him seem like a badass and an unlikable person. And we realize that he has cancer and he's dying in 6 months,
yeah,
and he wants to die his way,
yeah,
and that's why he's fighting to save the world.
yeah,
Which I'll just throw that out there. Why? Like he's the healthiest cancer patient I've ever seen.
yeah,
Like, like
yeah.
he's literally jumping like across buildings and
Like
punching
killing it with
aliens.
the shotgun. He was dope as hell. The
Yeah,
movie should just follow him.
they should have followed him. Like
Mm,
they could have given him any other reason. Just like oh, I lost my daughter to these things. I'm not actually from the past. I'm from the future. And I'm trying to I don't know.
yeah,
Some right. But anyway, like he has this claw from one of the monsters the earliest one that they killed,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, let's analyze it in the spectrometer or whatever. Like
yeah.
the research that guy's
Which like
like,
nobody else thought to do that.
there's nobody else thought to do that. Again, huge plot point.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, there's volcanic ash from Russia and China. No, volcanic ash from China,
Because
and it's in.
the volcano in China like blew up so powerful that it covered half of the earth in volcanic ash, and that's how they
And
were able
they're
to
like, oh,
identify.
do you know
Which apparently
anybody
they were
that?
able to identify to such a precise point that they found the actual ship.
Oh, that don't even get me started on that. But like this scene, this whole point was so we can go all the way back to the beginning of the movie to when he's teaching high school, and there's the kid that should not be touching the volcano exhibit,
Yeah.
just so they can go all the way to the high school and talk to the high school kid about volcanoes.
Yeah.
This guy works in a geothermal research and development facility, supposedly the best one in the country. And he's the director of R&D, and his resources are so limited that he can't talk to anybody on his team that would know
Mm-hmm.
this information. He had to go to some random high school in the Midwest and talk to some random kid, and he just happens to have a simulation
Yeah.
running his
Even
MacBook.
though he asked a random girl for a laptop too, a MacBook.
Oh yeah, and oh god, the movie. Just to touch on it, because I talked to Dory about this like for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but they show like 10, 20. They show like five cuts of five different people passing him this laptop.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like it's
Which
so.
okay, like not to take it out, but like the only like joke that like landed for me and I thought was like good and that would have been the only joke that probably should have been in the movie was Charlie the research guy saying like I would have killed for a moment like this in high school because like that's a fantasy in any boy growing up in high
Oh
school
yeah,
is like I wish I could like save the day.
yeah, no, yeah.
That
Like,
was the only joke that should have been in the entire damn movie.
well, there's another joke, but I really liked that. I hate that I
Which one?
liked J.K. Simmons when he goes. Okay, anyway, they get the volcano. They're like, we need to go to Russia, but they close the borders in Russia, which is dumb because the whole world was working together to send everybody, conscript everybody, and send them to the future to
Yeah.
fight the aliens. But now they're not letting people in, even though they were working together. Anyway, um, and they need somebody to fly them into Russia
Yeah.
to the crash site or whatever, right? Um, and they go to like, I know a guy, so he goes to his dad, J.K. Simmons. He's like, will you please help us? Yada yada yada. And J.K. Simmons says, it's true what they say. I guess kids only want to talk to their parents when they need something.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that
just
was
like,
another good one.
I
100%. Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate that. I find that pretty funny.
Yeah. No, that was a good one. And the reason why the borders were closing cuz like because the once Chris Pratt got back,
Oh
then
god, yeah.
all time travel stopped. So then the idea was like we did lose the war. We're going to lose the war. The extinction is coming and that's where like everyone in every country was dealing with rioting and looting and the whole world was falling apart at that point. That's why the Secretary of Defense was like, "I'm not going to send you guys there." And then later on, he took credit for it, like a typical politician,
But it's
which
like,
was funny. I was like, "Ah, yeah, that's typical."
yeah, but it's
There's
like,
another
okay,
one. There's a third one.
but it's like, okay, so they need to fly into Russian airspace without being seen. The whole country's on high alert,
Yeah,
and they choose to do so in a C-130
yeah,
from Ohio.
yeah.
Like,
Where
where
were they? Were they in Ohio?
I thought they were in his house. That's where his dad was.
Because like, so like, I mean, obviously, like, where are films mostly filmed now?
Georgia.
Georgia, right? Which I think it was a funny point because like, in his or in his death certificate, I gotta show you this because I didn't notice it till I saw it come up, but his death certificate says certified by Georgia, like the state of Georgia.
Oh,
I don't know why they had to even put that. Like, I guess he lives in Georgia, and his dad lives
well,
in
no, no,
Ohio,
no. I don't know. He lives in the Midwest for sure.
unless he moved to Georgia.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, I
That
don't.
was just weird.
Honest question, because I wanted to ask you: can
Yeah.
the C-130 fly from, let's just say, Ohio, closer to Siberia
Uh, Probably like with its range. I've flown from
in one
uh,
go?
yeah, I've flown from Iraq all the way to Afghanistan, like going south underneath Iran. So it's like it really depends on the range. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of factors because it has to have to maybe be refueling. Let me
I
look
mean,
this up.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to refuel, is what I was thinking.
Well, also they didn't even have like an actual location. They were just going to like
Siberia.
Siberia. Oh, 2,300 miles.
I don't think it's. I think it's
No.
farther. It's
Yeah,
like 5 miles away.
Ohio
Let's
to
say,
Si. Oh, I'm not gonna even spell this. Siberia. I'm really good at spelling, by the way. Distance from Siberia to Ohio is 5,000
yeah. So there's no
miles.
way in hell they would have been able to do that.
Yeah, but that's just one of those movie moments where they're not even reloading their ammo whenever they're shooting.
I know, but it's like it's a big point because it's like they made a big deal of talking about anyway.
Yeah,
So
how
they
he had that
land.
plane available. Yeah,
So they land the C-130 on a glacier
yeah.
in Siberia. Miraculously, they landed it, and all
Hmm.
of a sudden they're on snowmobiles. Everybody got their own snowmobile, and they're with their like winter gear, like their North Face, in
Yeah,
Siberia with like no face covering, so they could see the actors talking
of course.
dialogue, and then they're just riding aimlessly into the sunset, trying to figure out where the alien ship's at.
All right, gang, let's just split up.
Seriously,
Split up.
literally,
Scoob, you go with me. Roll, Raggy. It's rolled out here.
seriously, man, it's literally like they're like, it was literally like mount up and let's go. Like they just go, and they finally make it all the way up. Like they're like, oh, here it is, and then they just blow it up.
Yeah.
They don't talk about how they brought a bunch of explosives, or they don't
Well, so
show
like,
them
because
planting
that
bombs.
was a whole movie in itself. You could tell that was probably like a potential sequel if they wrote that in the original movie. Because I honestly feel like they were gonna go with like a sequel or a trilogy possibly. Like fine, but the fact that it got added to the last 30, it was legit the last 30 minutes of the movie because I was like, oh shit, he's got the toxin and he's back. Which I'm surprised he didn't even break it or nobody took it from him or asked, like let's do this. Like nobody was
Uh,
excited about that. Like he kept it on him. Like, and he didn't break it. Like, whatever. Like, the toxin his daughter developed that was 100% able to kill the aliens. Fine. But
the
the fact is,
female.
like, yeah, the female specifically, because he didn't want him to reproduce. Which was funny how it acted like acid so quickly, where it just make them melt and stuff. But the fact
Which
is, like, then he gets back and he's like, we have to find these aliens where they landed, and then we exterminate them now, so the war never happens. Which is like, okay, that in itself could be a movie. Like, you could have like started the movie there, and then gone off on like, we got to find this alien ship and we're gonna destroy it, and then like the whole like the in Antarctica they're like trying to hunt it down, and it's or not Antarctica, but the Siberian
it would have been a direct rip off of the
yeah,
thing,
because they were
but
almost getting into a point of like this is a movie discussing about like climate change too, where the snow is melting, and that's when the aliens finally got released because of our effects on climate. You know, like it's like you're trying to do so many different concepts and so many different pieces and so many different elements and so many different stories in one 2.5 hour movie. Like why? Like it's perfectly fine if like movies like Goodfellas take that long or movies like The Godfather take that long because every fucking line that's coming out of the actor's mouth is for a reason. It's not because like this would be funny or this kind of lets the audience know there's nothing serious happening or this is just exposition, not exposition, this is just dialogue to like allow some breathing room in the scene or this is like they don't do that. Like they cut it down because they're trying to get to the point. If what they're saying doesn't matter, then they shouldn't say it, plain and simple. And the fact that there's so many like action pieces and set pieces that happen in this movie that don't need to happen, like the whole not stair scene, but the hallway scenes when they're going through the research facility. The stair scene in itself was dope, and that's fine. They could have gone from the stair scene to like they're outside and they're running, but then there's another extra 5-10 minutes where they're running through hallways, and it's almost like Jurassic Park where they're running through the grass and stuff like that. It's like, come on, like why are you wasting so much damn time to get to a point that's pointless?
oh yeah, and there's this one saying it's like they spent money, like is every single second in a
$200
film.
million dollars.
This was like every single second of a film is, I mean, I guess not anymore, but it used to be planned out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like there's a reason for why you're hitting record,
yeah,
right? Because it costs money
yeah,
and it takes time to do so. But it's like if you're just gonna throw willy nilly random things, like somebody in the production has to ask why,
yeah,
and that didn't happen
yeah,
really because it's like so many like random things are going on. And I think you're right because I honestly, I do I do believe that's probably what happened. Is like they were planning for a sequel, and that's why that didn't get greenlit, and they just moved on.
yeah,
Because frankly, like that, I think that's where they should have ended it. He goes to the future, he comes back, he has the vial. All of a sudden, everything's not working anymore. Oh no, to be continued, something like that.
yeah,
Because or the way I would have done it is like, oh, like at the very least, like cut a bunch of the nonsense out
yeah,
like at the beginning of the movie, get right to the nitty gritty of them going to the future. He goes back in time. He tries to fix the problem, but him releasing the aliens is what causes them to go out in the first place,
mm,
and that's how they get released.
yeah,
And that was the real release all along that nobody knew. That would have made more sense,
yeah.
and that would have been a more like an interesting, at least to myself,
I think the
way
way
to
you could
tell
have
that.
compressed all the characters and not having a bunch of random people show up too is just by like focusing like a lot of the energy and dialogue on like just if you're gonna have those three characters, like the comedic relief of Charlie and the serious guy of Dorian also being, was he really useful? Like other than just carrying the claw around and like letting them
He
know
was
certain exposition of like if you
he
don't
was
like that you're gonna
absolutely
hate what you see next. They eat or like he didn't provide anything. It'd have been perfect if like he was giving them tips and tricks of the trade of like how to survive this shit because he survived it already multiple times. What they should have had is like in like my version like would have been like Dorian and Chris Pratt already knew each other from like the army and then when Chris Pratt gets drafted, he runs into Charlie. They're joking around, or Charlie's joking around, and then he's nervous and he's like, "Don't worry, I like I'll help you, whatever." And then he runs into Dorian and he's like, "Oh shit, I haven't seen you since like Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever." And then he's like, "Yeah, man, like this ain't good. Like this ain't good." And he's like, "How many times have you done this?" He's like, "This is gonna be my fourth or whatever." And it's like, then you immediately get all these different characters to click, and we can get past this. And then Chris Pratt's trying to figure out like this guy's like broken, because then later on when his daughter's saying that like he came back broken, he can be like, oh okay, I can see what happened to this guy and what would have happened to me if I wasn't aware of all these things happening now. Like
there's a
you would have cut out so much time and so many other extra people telling you like all this extra stuff.
and just to highlight a point of what your version of the story that I think is missing from this, and let's wrap it all up, is like what this was missing was a reason for making this movie.
Yeah.
Like why this character?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole point of this movie was every movie. It doesn't matter if it's a slasher movie
Why are we
or
following this character?
why this character, and what is the difference between the character at the beginning of this movie and at the end of this movie based off what happens to them in the story.
Yeah.
Goodfellas,
Yeah.
Alien, like Halloween, the first one with, like it's like literally like that's what's going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be, I mean, different, but like what's the point?
Yeah.
And this movie was just like a hodgepodge of random stuff. Like his relationship with his family, with his dad was one thing. His relationship with his daughter was a different thing.
Yeah.
But at no point was there a cohesive like, all right, this was him at the beginning, this were his flaws, and this is the end. The
They
only
just
thing I could
forced it.
see was
They forced it everything. Yeah.
they forced his relationship with his dad at the end, where his dad hugs his daughter that he didn't like to see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, because your dad was a big game hunter all of a sudden, and he shot down this alien in the Siberia, like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And
And that's it.
that goes to like experience and like abilities of like all the creators of like the production too, because like for like what Chris McKay like previous directing the Lego movie, Robot Chicken, Moral Oral, he's like produced those same different stuff. He's edited. He has a lot more like experience and background, which is like awesome because it gives him more of an ability to understand what works and what doesn't work. But like for the writer, Zach Dean, this is his third movie. This is seriously his third movie. He's only done like one other movie that was like big, and it was with Ethan Hawke. It was 24 Hours to Live. Like, so you're giving $200 million to these two guys who do not deserve $200 million to make this movie. You're talking about a writer who doesn't have an experience, a single writer. Like it's understandable if you have like a writing team or like a couple writers or the writer director like worked on the dialogue, because that's usually what happens, and it's fine if this guy gets all the credit. But clearly that's not what happened, because this is what's shown by the final product. If there's so many mistakes, so many plot holes, so many like dialogue like cringiness, like inconsistencies, like you're gonna have so many mistakes. That's clearly due to an inexperienced writer, and it's obvious when you look at his like filmography. It only like he's only credited for like 2 other productions before doing a $200 million movie. So why would you take that writer, his story, and then just completely unedit it and not like add another writer to enhance it? Because that's typically what happens in Hollywood, is they'll have like a new writer and they're like, all right, we like this, but we need, since you're inexperienced, we're gonna get you to work with this writer. He worked on Scarface, he worked on Aliens, he worked on this movie with James Cameron, or this movie with Sean Connery. Like he like more clout, like more experience, somebody to back up the writer so that the director isn't given garbage and then has to make magic. Because then what you get is exactly this, where like the director is like just gonna take what he's got and he's gonna be like, all right, well, hopefully this works, and then tries to like make it funny by relieving the tension when there's like the whole scene where they're talking to the new recruits and they're explaining the future, and the one of the new recruits from the show 24, she asks what do they look like? Oh, we don't want
Oh,
to show you what they look like, otherwise nobody would get drafted. And then she's like, oh,
that
you should get somebody else. It's like,
was
man,
a problem because
yeah. And then that whole scene was just so that the audience's questions could be answered. Why didn't you build two um, time machines? That whole scene is for the audience, so that the stupid questions that the audience would probably ask, the characters are asking, so that then you can throw it away. It's the same when like in a movie, like a character might like they're getting chased and a car pulls up and then somebody says like, isn't that convenient? Like otherwise, if
it's,
you don't say it, the audience would say, isn't that kind of convenient? That's stupid. But when a
it's
character says it, it's self-aware and it's like, okay, whatever. But when you have a whole scene that's dedicated for that, what the fuck were you doing when you were writing this movie?
multiple scenes for multiple different points of the film. Like it's lazy writing.
Yeah.
And just to touch on that, it's like it's a huge plot hole, right? Because they're like, we didn't want to tell you, or else nobody would have done this. But it's like you're conscripting people.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
You've already bolted them. They're gonna go anyway.
They're
And
gonna go
that's where
anyway.
that's where like having that like whole like we were gonna inject them with toxins so that when the creatures eat them anyway, they were at least useful. Like that would have at least helped a lot of like the stupid shit where it's like, why do you have like these 50, 70-year-old people like
Why do you have
deploying too?
Cookie?
Like yeah, Cookie, like the chef like showing up after work to just go deploy. Like then it would have worked out.
He
Like
didn't even clock out. He's not getting paid for that day.
mm-hmm. But no, it's
But
just that it just goes down to that, dude. Is like it's just they had so much. I wouldn't say potential because like that is assuming that everything like lined up in the right way would work. It's
just
like they had the
yeah.
budget, they had the resources, but they didn't have the ability to do it right because the ability would have started with the writer, like working with the team, working with somebody else to like polish this before a production. Like, dude, look how Iron Man 1, like they did the movie without a script. Are you kidding me? Like a movie like that can literally go without a script and then work, but then a movie like this, it's written and then they start filming it and then it doesn't work. Like it shows you that like people are getting overpaid to do like stupid easy work, but they're not actually taking the time to appreciate the work they're given.
This movie answers the question that everybody had back in 2000, 2012, around that point in time,
Hmm.
where sci-fi was releasing banger after banger of direct to DVD movies
Yeah.
that were more outlandish than the previous one. Sharknado, Dino Croc versus Octopus,
Yeah.
yada yada yada. That the question was, what would happen if you gave these people a
Yep.
$200 million budget?
100%. I absolutely agree with that. That's
This
100%
is
right.
the product,
That is
and it was
perfect.
not
Yep.
as good as we thought it would
Yeah,
be.
no, 100%. Like if someone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a movie. I'll give you $200 million," and then they didn't even ask any questions, and it was Sharknado. This is exactly what would fucking happen. Like Tomorrow War, like
But even the name, man, the name doesn't make
the
sense.
Tomorrow War.
Like it's
Oh,
a
which
five.
I'm glad
It's
you
a
even brought
draft
up the
name.
name because that's
It's a
another
draft.
IMDb point.
It's a draft name. Like this is not a name. This is a name you hand somebody that says Tomorrow War in quotes draft to be changed later.
To be changed later. We'll come up with it. Like we're troubleshooting it. So Chris Pratt posted the following on his Instagram page in November 9th, 2019. This was my first experience executive producing on a movie, and I can finally post about it. The title Ghost Draft, quotes, that was the original title, turned
Draft.
out to be problematic for various reasons. So we started looking at other options. We went through, and then obviously this is a mixture of jokes, but it's funny. We got to figure out which ones are jokes and which ones are real, right?
Let me. I'll be the judge.
So
Joke or
the
not.
first one, the first title was Ghost Draft, and they realized that's probably not going to work.
Ghost
So
draft.
Ghost Draft was the original title, and these were the made up names. Obviously, a bunch of them are jokes, but Generation Alien,
That sounds pretty real.
World War A,
Unfortunately, it also sounds pretty real.
Generation Gone.
That sounds very real.
That one sounds real because it's not funny. It's not even like serious. It's like whoa, mysterious.
No, because they said the first two, and they're like, "Wait a minute, we don't want to show the alien until an hour and 50 minutes into the movie."
Yeah, and then this one, Saving Private Ryan.
That one's a joke.
Yeah, for sure.
that's
WWZ2.
wait, Z2?
Yeah, but with A's, not Z's.
Oh, that's
WWA's.
that's one of those get it guys.
Yeah, the Chris Pratt being funny. And then Horizon White Spike.
That's not a joke. That's real.
Yeah, that's gotta be real. Hero movie brought to you by Verizon.
Uh,
That's from Jurassic World, right? That joke, like, oh, the Indominus Rex brought to you by Sprint or Verizon or whatever.
right. T-Mobile.
Jurassic Draft.
That's for sure.
That's a joke, right? Generation Draft. That one sounds real.
Generation Draft.
Yeah.
Nah, that's a joke.
Miller Genuine Draft.
That's another joke.
City Slickers.
That's real.
Alien Dawn.
That's a joke.
Rapture Dawn.
Rap? That would have worked better than this one. But anyway,
Rapture Dawn.
that's
Apocalypse Dawn.
they're really how many drafts? How many titles did they go through?
Hero Dawn.
Oh my god, this is way too many. We're going on we're rambling at this. But how many drafts are there?
Drafts.
Like, sorry, how many like titles did he post?
Oh, he wrote a couple. It's almost over. Destiny War, Saving Tomorrow, and the Tomorrow War. All caps. Tomorrow War. And that is when it hit me. We're calling it hashtag the Tomorrow War.
Oh god,
Yeah.
the Tomorrow War is
The
actually,
Tomorrow War.
but it's not happening tomorrow, Chris.
It could have been Tomorrow's War.
Tomorrow's War would have made more sense.
Yeah.
But they're probably like, well, we can't
The
put that
Tomorrow War. It wasn't even tomorrow.
It's the 30-year war.
Yeah. Or
It's
Future War or something.
Future War, Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
Apocalypse Future. Like there's so many other things like this sounds like a high schooler's coming up with these titles.
no, I'm telling you, it sounds like a 5 minute like crap. We need a name. Let's just put the draft name on there. And let's just go.
Yeah. Run it. Run it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not to digress. I want to just wrap this all up because I know we're reaching a long. We've been talking about this movie for almost as long as this movie.
Yeah.
But I just want to touch back on what I think, and I think it was a plot point, and it was so important to this film. The tuna,
The tuna salad.
the tuna Santa,
The tuna
and it was,
salad.
and it was an allegory, an analogy, you could say, for this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was unnecessary. It was taking two concepts, throwing them together into this very strange, convoluted idea
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of time travel, aliens, and Chris Pratt's character. And you're mixing it with a bunch of like random ingredients with these different references to like previous movies and concepts. And you're
Yeah.
trying to throw it together and
Being
package it,
forced.
being forced onto your guests and then being disappointed when they don't like it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the perfect analogy for this movie, is that tuna Santa.
Perfect.
And that's why I talk. And then you're shocked that nobody wants it. The Tomorrow War. How would you rate this movie?
Oh, the Tomorrow War. What can I say that hasn't been said already?
I,
So a movie by itself, I would rate it three out of. I would rate it a 3 or 4 out of 10.
3 or 4 out of 10.
Yeah. You?
That was pretty good. I don't know, man. This movie was not that good. It was. I would say, okay. I would give it maybe a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10. I can agree
The
with that.
reason I'd say that is because at the end of the day, like, movies can be bad.
It was unnecessary and it was a waste of time.
It was unnecessary and it was a time. Like,
Yeah.
movies can be terrible.
Mhm.
Like Sleepaway Camp. But like at the end of the day, I kind of enjoyed watching it because I was like, oh, this is such a terrible movie.
Yeah.
But this one, with its budget, its casting, it's like
It
it's
shouldn't be
just
this bad. It should
it
not have
felt
been
like
this
a
bad.
waste of
Yeah.
opportunity, and that's even more disappointing.
Yeah. Like this movie would have been, it could have been easily been like $50 million, not $200 million.
Oh yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
it could have been an hour and 30 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. And just again, like the tuna salad, nobody wanted it, and you force it on everybody, and you get mad that nobody likes it.
But anyway,
Yep.
what more can we say? Anyway, that's it for today on Two Tickets to Hell.
Yeah.
Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy reviews and discussions on anything and everything in between, including entertainment, gaming, tech, and anything else you want us to talk about. Again, if you enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. We very much thank your comments. And if you have anything that you want us to discuss in the future, please also leave a comment, and we can get
Yeah.
back.
We check out the comments. We want to
We
hear.
do. Anyway, thank you all, and goodbye from hell.
Goodbye from hell. Peace.